David A.R. White, it's always great to see you.
Billie Holloway, one of my favorite people on the planet.
All right. So, as always, you are incredibly busy, crazy busy. One really exciting announcement. I want to start here and then I want to talk about Nothing is Impossible, but God's Not Dead, Rise Up. This is the fifth film in the franchise. What's it like to be moving into that era?
Well, I hope it's not weird. I couldn't put the rest of the posters back there because there's so many of them. And it's my son's gaming room, so he won't allow me to put any more posters up.
You're at your max. You're at your poster
I
max.
hit my max. It's interesting. I think, Fast and the Furious has 10. So, we pale in comparison with the amount of movies. We're only on number, to be serious though, it's every time, we do a God's Not Dead, we kind of go into it thinking this is the last one, and we never know if we're going to do another one. And so we're constantly surprised and humbled for the fact of the amount of people that respond to these movies and the chord that they hit. And somehow the films have come out really, I think, each and every, each one has come out really at a time when our culture needed to see that message. And for that, I'm honored to be part of it. And I think, this next one, the same thing is I think it's going to hit on a lot of different levels, going into this whole political season, and where did politics and how is God in politics and all of this stuff. I think it's going to be, once again, a perfect timing of a film that needs to be seen and get conversations starting about these type of issues.
Yeah, I mean, every film is different. Every film in the series hits something different, as you were saying. What can people expect? I know, we're sort of in the infancy of this. You've announced it. You guys haven't filmed yet, but what can people expect from this movie in terms of the topics and what you're going to be hitting on?
I can't tell you a lot about this right now. I think it would be premature. Except for the fact that it's called Rise Up, so it's just about taking the torch and being part of the solution as opposed to part of the problem. And
Yeah.
and with that, obviously, where does God play in all of these situations? How is God relevant in these situations? And I think that's what in our country that is hurting so many. We went through a pandemic, and then after that, now it's on the decline in a lot of different ways. Where is God in the center of all of this? In the center of the pain, in the center of the hurt, in the center of hopefully change.
Yeah. And, you've, along the way, 5 movies now, this will be the 5th, playing Reverend Dave, and knowing your backstory and knowing you and who you are. It's so interesting where you came from, your upbringing, your dad in ministry, and then coming into playing this character, Reverend Dave. What has that been like? Not just getting to play him, but getting to do it throughout all the different iterations in films.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is my dad was a pastor. He was a Mennonite pastor, and he always wanted me to become an evangelist, and I had never wanted to become an evangelist. I mean, since I was little, that was like he felt like you're going to be an evangelist, and not that he was forcing it on me. I think that was what his hope and his dream for my life would be. And I didn't ever want, it's almost like I didn't want to ever go into the ministry because my entire family ended up in the ministry. Like my brother went into missions over in China. My sister, was a youth pastor for years with her husband. And I even left Moody Bible Institute after a year to go in the entertainment industry, where they all graduated and met their significant others and then went into ministry. And so I was like the guy that was just constantly, not that I was running from my relationship with the Lord, because I've had a strong relationship with God since I was, since I was very, very little. But I think the amazing thing is that the Lord has a way of, he has a call on each and every one of our lives. He gives us dreams. He puts them inside of us. And all he asks is that we just pursue him and we're faithful in the process of it. And then it's amazing to see, even despite ourselves, what he does with us and with our lives. And I always did have a passion for the Christian film industry from an early age. I felt like that was an unserved marketplace that needed to have these movies, and I was honored to, to be a part of, really, of, I think, I don't want to say trailblazing, but kind of trailblazing that before it was ever in the studios. And now, almost all the studios have faith-based labels. There's more and more Christian faith-based content being put out there. Than there ever was when I started. And so for that, I'm grateful to be part of it. And the God's Not Dead franchise and even Nothing's Impossible are all, I think they all, hopefully that they serve that purpose and the Lord is pleased with them.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, you could argue you did become an evangelist, right? In a unique way in Hollywood, because God's Not Dead, the first one, you were being a little bit humble there, but that film really exploded and it launched the year of the Bible. That's what they were calling it at the time. And, a lot of other films coming out. And this has really transformed the way that this kind of content is viewed. You launched a streaming service. There are a lot of things that happened in that space. So I would imagine in some ways, yeah, like you could call yourself an evangelist.
I won't be calling myself an evangelist. I think,
Look at me trying to give you a title you don't want. Look at that. But,
yeah,
but
I'm
in
like,
a way,
exactly. I've decided to open a church. I'm going to be calling myself an evangelist, Dave,
well, there
and
you go.
I will be taking tithes and offering at the end of every Zoom call we do.
Look, life is imitating
Not
art
doing
in
that
this
for the record.
case.
I'm
You're
not.
gonna be Reverend Dave, Reverend Dave. But all right, seriously though, the other movie you have that is actually hitting October 6th, Nothing is Impossible. Talk about this film because I know this was a passion project for you in so many ways.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. I mean, and we started working on this in 2014. So you think about it, it's like 8 years in the making. How many did we go through to get it here? And I think it's just kind of like life imitating art in a lot of ways. It's a movie about a guy who missed his opportunity. And now he lives in a trailer. He is a janitor. He lives with his dad, who's basically an alcoholic. He doesn't have the love of his life that got away. It's like his car breaks down. He's kind of down and out. He's at the bottom, and he gets this opportunity. And instead of really trying to do the opportunity for, they're holding this open tryout for this NBA, this fledgling NBA team that's about to go under. Um, he's always loved that girl who was the coach, the owner's daughter, who is now taking over the team. So he goes to try out really to meet the girl. And in the process of it, the rest unfolds. And so I just love it because also all the characters in the movie are also broken. And it's a movie about second chances, about hope, about forgiveness, and keeping on, which is such a universal thing that we need today.
Oh yeah, that's huge. And that's like the culture and the world is so broken. Those are the themes that we need. And that's a film that people can watch over at Pure Flix. Okay, final question for you. And maybe you'll say God's Not Dead. I don't know, but you've been in a lot of movies and films and TV shows. What has been your favorite project ever?
I actually think you can never ask that question of any movie star ever, because I've tried over the years, and every single time, I when I was younger, I would be in the presence of these legends, and I would ask that question, and I think, and now I understand it years later after you've done, I don't know if I've been a lead in probably 25, 30 movies, something like that, and so it's they all are special in different ways. Hopefully, they're like your kids. You love them all. Um, but that's, Nothing's Impossible was truly, it was a passion project. We shot it last year in Knoxville, Tennessee. We had our premiere not that long ago, and the city gave us they coined it September 29, Nothing is Impossible Day
That's
every
awesome.
year, which is really cool. Um, and so, it was definitely a special movie to do. It was something that I'd always had a passion about doing. I did it with friends. I think, to me, it gets down to the core was Originally, when I was on Evening Shade with Burt Reynolds, I looked around. I was 19 years old, and I looked around at those table readings, and he had all these people who had won Oscar, Emmys, and Tonys. But more importantly, he had been friends with these people for 30 years. And I said as a kid, because I had moved around a little bit, having a pastor for a dad, that I want to plant here in Hollywood, and I want to work with my friends for years to come. And I always knew I wanted to produce, but I didn't really realize at the time that I would start as early. I mean, I always thought that I would do it when I was really old, like 40, not in my 20s. But I'm glad I started in my 20s, and I've had the joy, and even Nothing's Impossible is friends that I've worked with for years. And it's when you do that, it's that camaraderie, it's that family. And I think that life is so much about connection to people you love. Billy, I love you.
Yeah,
I've
we are actually real life friends. We are friends.
I mean, for those out there who are listening, yes, that Billy and I, we go back. And so it's a pleasure and an honor always just even to talk to you. And hopefully somebody enjoys what we're talking about too.
Well, they definitely will. The movies are Nothing is Impossible and Keep Your Eyes Open for God's Not Dead. Rise Up. David, as always, it was wonderful.